Right, so we're going to continue here. So the Capetian dynasty has a line of weak rulers, but they're lucky. France stays strong because it's good territory. They're able to grow crops, they're able to trade, and so their dynasty is able to be safe, even though the rulers are not very good. Then we get Philip II, okay, King Philip II. He calls himself Philip Augustus, okay. Augustus comes from Roman Caesar Augustus, okay, and he wants to be seen basically as the next Caesar. So that tells you a little bit about him, okay. He wants to fight the British, but like I said, the French are not going to be great fighters, and so he is going to lose to Edward. He's going to lose to Richard, okay, but he comes up against John, okay, John the soft sword, and we know that John is not a very good fighter, and so he's able to beat John in battle, okay, and Philip is going to become really powerful because that's like the biggest thing you want to do as a king is to expand your territory. His heirs are going to continue to strengthen the central government, take more power away from the nobles to the king. Okay, they're going to continue that. We're going to see that process continue and continue. They are going to institute something called the Estates General. Okay, it's sort of like their version of a parliament. It's not quite the same, but similar. And we're going to see that come back in later units when we talk about the French Revolution. But you got to remember it started now. Okay, 3 estates, and we'll talk about that more later. It's almost like the beginnings of democracy in France. Here is the map of France at this time, okay? Here's the area. The red is the area controlled by the King of England. And the yellow, okay, is controlled by the Burgundians, and they're allied with the British. The blue is the area of France that's actually controlled by France. And you can imagine if you were the king of France, how you would feel about that. Not good, right? Like, half of your land almost is controlled by another country. So that's not so good. And so we're going to have war, okay? Edward III of England is going to claim right to the French throne. His descendant way back is that Eleanor of Aquitaine, okay? And so he's related to the royal line in France, and when the French king dies, he says, I should take over. Okay, the French don't like this. Think about it, right? England already controls all this territory, and now they want all the rest of it as well as the crown of the official king. So that's not good, okay? And so they're going to fight. This war for succession lasts over a century. That's why we call it the 100 Years' War, okay? And they are going to be stuck with medieval technology for much of that time, okay? Knights on horseback fighting, okay, taking castles, and the other side will take it back, but something's going to change the game, okay? The English are going to invent the longbow, okay? It's a new technology. It's a bow that's big enough and strong enough to fire an arrow through armor, which means that knights are no longer going to be effective. The French had by far the most knights, okay, on horseback, and they thought that they would be invincible. They were elite fighters. They had all this training, but the English, okay, could teach in an afternoon someone how to shoot a longbow, and without almost very much training at all, they would be able to take down one of these knights. So that changes the game, okay? The English are going to win a major victory using the longbow at Agincourt. The French have a huge group of knights. They think for sure we're going to win. We have all the knights. The English don't have almost any knights, okay? And as they come charging across the field of battle, okay, arrows take down all the knights. And so you can see all those years of training, all those years of work, okay, all those elite warriors gone in an afternoon, okay? France is in big, big trouble. Okay. After this, the English are going to start winning huge battles all across France, and it looks like they are certain to win the war. By 1420, okay, England and France are going to sign a treaty, okay, that basically when the current French king dies, the English will take over the throne of France. England's going to win the war. They just have to wait for the current king of France to die. In the meantime, we have Joan of Arc. Okay, she claims to hear the voice of God telling her to save France and win the war, and she's actually going to take control of the armies and win some major victories, okay? And you can imagine what would happen now, okay, if if a teenager claiming to hear the voice of God said, "Give me control of all the armies," okay, it wouldn't work. But at that time, it did. Okay. And so Joan of Arc is actually going to get captured by the Burgundians. Remember the yellow territory on the map. Okay. She's fighting up there and she's going to be captured. The French King Charles VII has an opportunity to pay the ransom to save her, and he doesn't do it. He doesn't want to pay the ransom for a woman who is upstaging him by winning all these battles. So he lets her be killed, and she's burned at the stake. And that's the end of Joan of Arc. Okay. As a result of the 100 Years' War, okay, nationalism, this idea of one nation, the English nation and the French nation, and they're fighting against each other, okay, and everybody in the nation is working together. That's going to really come after this 100 Years' War, okay? Also, okay, the power and prestige of the French monarch is going to increase, okay? France ultimately does win the war, okay, and the power of the French monarch is going to really increase. Okay, we're going to see that continue until we get to the French Revolution. Okay, and England, okay, is in turmoil. England is in turmoil. They're actually going to have a revolution called the War of the Roses at this time, okay, because of basically the results of the war after they lose. Okay. Here's a picture of Agincourt. We can see, okay, the English archers taking down the French knights there. Here's a picture of Joan of Arc, famous painting. I believe it's in the Louvre. So if you go to Paris, you can see that. Okay. And we've reached the end of the Middle Ages, okay, at this point. After the 100 Years' War, after the plague, we've really reached the end of the Middle Ages. We know what the two pillars of European life were, okay? The feudal system and the church, okay? And so what I want you to do now is write, okay? Take out a half sheet of paper and answer these two questions, okay? By the end of the Middle Ages, what are the two pillars of European life during the Middle Ages, okay? And by the mid-15th century, okay, what has happened to them? What's happened to the church? What's happened to the feudal system? Okay, this is going to be a short answer on your test, so practice the answer now. Okay, I will see you all for the review day on Monday. Email me with any questions you have over the weekend. Good luck.